You're very welcome to the Irish Political Roundup with me, Paul Brophy. I'm joined here outside Leinster House by Fianna TD for CarlowKIlkenny, Peter Chap Cleere. Deputy Cleere, you're very welcome again to the Irish Political Roundup.
Yeah, delighted to be here, Paul. Good afternoon to you and all your viewers.
Yeah, it's been a very, very busy number of months. You are currently the Fianna spokesperson on agriculture. There's been a lot of talk about potentially CAP reform, and you were in Brussels recently discussing that with your MEPs.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues out there on the agricultural side of things, Paul. Obviously, being spokesperson for agriculture, we're at the front end of things, and there's a lot of issues out there in terms of TB and Mercosur and the nitrous derogation and the upcoming CAP, and there's challenges in different sectors, tillage, etc. So there's an awful lot of issues out there, but there's a lot of positivity in the agricultural sector as well. It's a huge sector in Irish economy. There's 170,000 people employed in the agricultural sector. It's worth about 20 billion of our national exports are in the agriculture side of things, 10% of our total exports. So it's a huge factor in terms of the economy, but also what it does for rural Ireland in terms of the contribution to make to be the local schools or local GA clubs can't be underestimated either. So,
and then there's also the Mercosur agreement, which is pretty close to completion. You were at the ploughing championships obviously recently. There are a lot of beef farmers who are concerned that this agreement would see an influx of a lot of beef from South America that wouldn't be of the same standard to what we have here in Ireland and the rest of the European Union.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of standards, Paul. I mean, the Mercosur deal, obviously from an agricultural perspective, I'm focusing on, but I suppose from a European perspective, there's a lot of positives come from Mercosur as well. But on the agricultural side of things, we need to make sure that there's fair play involved, because the standards that an Irish farmer has to meet for its beef versus the South American has to be able to compare like with like. Now, I did meet Commissioner Hansen in Brussels recently, and there is a specific fund that's set aside on the beef side of things to make sure that from a competitiveness, that competitiveness is there. So you might recall in the new proposed CAP, there's a 450 million budget that in previous years would have been put aside for things like flood relief or forest fires. That now can be put aside to make sure from a competitiveness that the beef prices are going to be maintained at the level they should be at. But you have to be able to compare like with like. The quality has to be there, and there's work to be done on that side, Paul.
And it's actually, from talking to beef farmers, this year has been an excellent year, and you want to maintain that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's Ireland is agriculture is so important to us here. We've had a good year this year, but there's years where we haven't had so good years. So I suppose like anything, it's like when your club is playing in the hurling and you win a county final. You want to be enjoying the good years, because there's plenty of lean years and tough years, and it's the same in the agricultural side of things. Beef is very, very good at the moment in terms of the prices, but with that then comes additional costs as well in terms of buying back in, etc. So there's pros and cons too, but it is a good year. But I suppose from when you look at an agricultural side of things, you want to be looking over a 5-year term, and it has been challenged over a couple of years as well. Like security is really important in terms of the defences, and actually security in terms of food security is every bit as important, because before you do anything on the defences, if you haven't got food to feed your population, you're in trouble. And we're in a situation in Ireland where we have a population of maybe 5 or 5.5 million, but we produce enough food for 45 million. So we're in a really strong place. A lot of our European counterparts wouldn't be half near as good as in terms of their food production. So we just need to make sure that food production is there and that viability is there. But we need to protect our people as well.
When we think of food security, not just agriculture, a lot of people, like local people, don't realise that the fisheries is also part of the agriculture as well.
Yeah.
We may be inland in CarlowKIlkenny, but we really do need to, as you said, secure our food supply and our food security, because we are an island at the end of the day.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with more. And as I said, there's a great tradition of fishing in the marine in Ireland, and obviously being an island gives us a lot of access to the fish side of things. So look, between the agriculture and fisheries, I'd bundle them in together in terms of the food piece, but we just need to make sure that they're adequately funded, that we can continue to grow into the future, and that we can be an exporter, and that it can be, it's not just we're producing enough for the island, we have to be able to produce enough for ourselves, but obviously from an export perspective then it's worth a huge amount to the economy. As I said, 20 billion euro last year of our exports was on the agricultural side of things, which is huge. 10% of our total exports were agriculture.
You were talking earlier on about bringing the imports, cheaper imports from different countries.
Yeah, in terms of standards. Yeah.
So, but the Irish people, we want to know when we're buying our meat, we're supporting our local farmers and fishermen.
Yeah, and I mean, all you have to do is look at on board Bia, in terms of, when you go to buy a sausage, you go to buy a rasher, on board Bia means 100% Irish, you know where it's coming from. And I think that labelling element is really, really important. What I also think is that if we are going to advance this Mercosur deal, we need to absolutely make sure that the standards that are imposed in Ireland, which are quite high right across Europe in terms of that piece, that they're on a level playing field with the standards that are in South America, say in terms of Mercosur and Brazil, just to give an example. So there's a lot of work to be done on that to make sure that the beef that potentially could be imported is of the same standard and has had to go through the same rigour as the Irish beef, for example.
But the Irish people, we don't want to be eating meat from South America. We want to be supporting. We're across the road from Guaranteed Irish.
Yeah.
We want to support our local farmers and eat our local meat that is.
No, absolutely. And I suppose, look, we're a huge exporter of beef, so we produce enough beef in this country for ourselves, but we do export a lot of beef into Europe. So, as I said, from an Irish perspective, agriculture is huge in terms of the viability piece. But from a European perspective, when I met the Latvian ambassador yesterday, and 56% of the population of the size of Latvia is actually forestry. Right. So their capacity to I suppose make a contribution to agriculture is a lot lower because almost 2/3 of their land mass is forestry.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting, that it's what we have in Ireland is actually completely different to what some of our European counterparts would be experiencing. You go to a place like Finland, and we met the Finnish speaker over in Europe there as well on our trip. And as I said to you, maybe at best for 6 weeks in the year, their cows are out on the grass. So for 6 weeks, and in Ireland you'd be looking at maybe 10 months on the grass, whatever. So it's completely different. We have a grassland model here versus, so they look at Europe as a whole, but Ireland is completely different than a lot of Europe because of our climate and because of our tradition and history in terms of their countryside.
And we don't mind sharing our beautiful food.
Once we have enough ourselves first, we can share away after that. Yeah.
Well, definitely, Chap Cleere, thank you so much for taking time to speak to the Irish Political Roundup, to Paul and myself.
Thanks, Paul.
We really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Lovely to talk to you again anytime.